Okay, would you like to tell us your name?
Haldon Thomas Fleetwood.
Okay.
My name is Mike Fleetwood. I'm interviewer number 1.
My name is Jennifer Addison, and I'm interviewer number 2. And this is an interview with a World War II veteran. Okay, Mike.
Where did you attend school before the war, and what did you do between high school and joining the armed services?
Well, I attended Hamilton High School in Los Angeles, California, and I also attended, my senior year, I attended John H. Francis Polytechnic High School so I could graduate with my buddies. I graduated in February of 1942.
That's great. What were the circumstances, Hal, of you joining the military? Why did you join the military?
Well, good question. The draft, I was afraid of being drafted, and I enlisted in the military.
What branch of the military?
The Army Air Corps.
The Army Air Corps.
The Army Air Corps.
Why the Army Air Corps?
That's a good question also. So I wanted to fly.
You wanted to?
I wanted to fly.
Can you remember the dates of your military service?
Oh my goodness. You better shut it down here for a minute while I turn the page.
It's on the first page.
Pardon?
It's on the first page.
Enlisted December
No, it's not on that page.
1942.
Okay.
I don't care if this is in. We can just edit it.
You,
So you got it off?
No, I don't, but
Oh,
I can.
then you
Maybe
can
it'd
leave
be
it.
better if you didn't have the notes. It'd be more free without looking.
Yeah.
you still, are you with us again?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go, at the outbreak of World War II, I was about to be drafted. I decided to enlist in the Navy, but the Navy stopped taking enlistees. I wanted to go back to LA and say goodbye to my family.
Uh-huh.
My buddy and I, we were going to go in the Navy together. So he called me up, or I called him up that night from Los Angeles, and he said, I hope you enlisted today because they closed enlistments. And so they were closed, so that is the reason. Then I enlisted in the Army Air Corps, enlisted in December 7th, 1942, 1 year after Pearl Harbor.
When did you get out of the military?
Well, oh goodness, well, I was discharged October 5th, 1945. I served 2 years, 10 months, and 3 days. 2 years, 10 months, and 28 days.
Do you recall your feelings upon the outbreak of the war?
Thought the Japanese did a hideous thing at Pearl Harbor. Heard the news on the radio, probably at home, listening to the radio. I shared a locker with a good friend of mine who was my best friend that I had in the world was a Japanese fella. In the morning at the locker, this is on Monday morning after Pearl Harbor, I said to my friend, boy, you guys really pulled a sneaky on us yesterday, didn't you? And I never saw him or spoke to him again from that day. He just disappeared. He may have gone into a detention camp. I just don't know what happened to him.
How did you hear about the outbreak of the war, Hal?
Well, I guess just on over the radio.
Do you recall what you were doing or where you were when you heard about the war?
I was just at home, just sitting listening to that. Just happened to be listening to the radio.
How did you feel?
Well, like I said, like they've really pulled a sneaky on us. So it was pretty rotten.
When you got into the military, what was your induction and basic training like?
Excuse me. I was inducted at Fort MacArthur at San Pedro, California, and I saw my first 16-inch guns and met my first Native American. Believe it or not, he was in full headdress, ready for war. I almost missed basic training. It only lasted 10 days. It took me 3.5 days by train to get from Fort MacArthur in California to Shepherd Field, Texas. In Shepherd Field, Texas, we were confined to the barracks until they started to give us the manual of arms. I never received the manual of arms. They issued us a rifle. As they did, they called our names out and we were shipped out. I was shipped out to radio school in Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
What kind of special training were you involved in?
I trained as a radio operator, radio mechanic, relief gunner, and first aid man for the crew. Now this is over a little time, over a period of time. When I went, I have to say here that I went from basic fundamental radio course to advanced radio dynamics with a flunking grade. They told me that I was the only person that they had ever let pass through because I was so good in code. I was exceptionally good in code.
Well, this was the special training that you were involved in, is that right?
Yes, yes.
And how long did it last, Hal? What do you remember?
Well, I would say, I don't know, a month and a half, something like that.
Uh-huh. What happened?
Along the way, well, we had various courses in gunner training with the 50 caliber machine guns.
Okay.
It took me a long time to get through the radio courses. Well, this is my first radio course because I was sick with pneumonia in February and April of 1943 and was hospitalized. The first time I was in the hospital for 36 days. The second time for 2 weeks. Then I went to Madison, Wisconsin for my first aid course. Then I went to Philco Radio School in Philadelphia for about a month. Then back to Madison, Wisconsin for more first aid. Well, okay.
I have a question for you. What was the name of your unit?
Well, I got to go to another page. Well, I'm leaving out a lot of. Does that need to be shut off?
No, we can edit it. It's not a problem.
I was going to say.
Okay, read what you've got there.
Well, then I went to Hays, Kansas for more training missions. Then I went to Clovis, New Mexico to fly more training missions. This is where I met my future wife, Clytie Mae Smith. We were married in 1944. Then we went to Harrington, Kansas for more training missions. Then we went to West Palm Beach, Florida to prepare us for overseas. From West Palm Beach, we flew a B-29 to Natal, Brazil, in South America, then across the pond to Accra, Africa, on the Gold Coast. And we stayed there for several days. Then we flew to Khartoum, Africa. We were there for a couple of days, then flew to the Gulf of Aden, and then on to Karachi, India.
I have a question for you. How many men were with you?
I would say probably 11.
11. So you got to know those men quite
Oh yeah. We were a close-knit crew.
And what was your responsibilities on that crew?
I was a radio operator.
Okay.
Well, along with that other that I had said about being a relief gunner and a first aid man on the crew.
What name identifies the unit you were with, or what squadron? You were with was it the 444th Bomb Group?
Yes, you have, but I don't know. I've got so much going here. I don't know where.
Go ahead.
Just tell us. Can you remember it all, Hal?
Not well. I really need a lot of this.
Well, read out what you've got there. Go ahead.
Well, this,
Continue after you were in Khartoum.
how did I get here? Is this,
You're doing great. Just take your time. We've got lots of it.
No rush, Bob.
Yeah.
okay.
You finished telling us when you were, what, you went on to India.
We flew to Aden. Well, all of our transportation was in a B-29. I was the only man in the crew that, well, now this is not, shouldn't be in here right, this way.
Well, tell us then. Just tell us.
So, well, it says I was the only man that had to fly with the officers, but the other fellows they had to fly, but I had to be busy all the time trying to write down everything that was taken, every bit of traffic that came over the radio. I had to be up there working and writing it down.
So you're telling me you were really busy?
I was busy. Yeah, well. You put it down that I couldn't sleep with the other guys, and I didn't want to say that I slept with the other fellas, so I had to change this and put. Well, I changed it to bunk. I couldn't hang out or bunk with the other fellas.
Okay, that's good.
With the other guys, I had to monitor the radio, all the traffic constantly while the others slept. And then it came under close associates. Was that the next item that you had? I just had best friends in the service with Mike Praley, after whom my son was named. Mike was named after him.
Have you kept in touch with that man at all?
Well, that's kind of interesting too. We tried to, and as a matter of fact, we went back to New York and met with one of my other buddies, crew members, and let's see. What happened? What happened there, babe?
Was it a reunion?
No.
Just a meeting?
We lost track of them, and they had moved somewhere along the way, and we lost track of each other. And Mona Gale found his wife on the internet or whatever, and. We got acquainted with her, but then he had passed away just a year before that, and we had driven within 10 miles of their home on our trip. But well, it mentions names like Joe Hess was the man that I went to see back in New York, and Byron Nixon was a good friend, and. Well, we played a lot of pinochle, and Robert Laws was also a good friend.
Were these part of your crew, or these were servicemen?
These are all crew members.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All the crew members, did they return home safely?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sure. I lost track of this Byron Nixon. I shouldn't say it, but he chickened out. I mean, he was afraid to fly, and he got a ground job. I guess did I say I played a lot of pinochle?
Yeah.
Are there any other activities you'd like to tell us about that you shared with these men on these long trips?
I really had nothing to do with them. There was a long tunnel in the ship, in the airplane, and they were all in the back. All the enlisted men were in the back. I was the only one that was up front with the officers.
How did you feel about your job? Were you a little apprehensive or a little frightened of your responsibilities? You were very new to the job, so to speak.
Not really. I knew my job. I was well trained for the job. I wasn't. Now at one, well, I'm going to have to tell you about that at another time here.
All right, tell us about your assignments throughout the war.
Well, I'm going to tell about our missions.
Yes.
Now, we flew bombing missions into Singapore, Saigon, and to Kuala Lumpur. We bombed a British floating dry dock in Singapore because the Japanese had already taken Singapore. Then we went out to Kuala Lumpur twice because maybe I need to. We went over to bomb a bridge. We missed the bridge the first time and had to go back to finish the job the second time. Now, these were the only combat missions in India. We also bombed Saigon. I don't know why, except that the Japanese had control of it at that time. When I was stationed, well,
Can I ask you, did you think that your missions were successful, or how did you know they were successful?
We had a complete report here in this book. I mean, we had a, what do you call it?
Reconnaissance.
No, a get together with all the crews had to get together at the end of a mission and describe everything that took place. And well, it was all. Of course, we had pictures. We had photographs of every mission that we went on.
Okay. Well documented.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell us about your interaction with some of the people, the local population, while you were in India or Burma.
Well, okay. Now, I'm going to say I was stationed. First, I was stationed in Dedkundi for about 6 months. This was our base in India. Then they took Robert Laws and I and put us on detached service. We were put on loan to the ATC, which is the Air Transport Command. They took all the supplies up to the forward area except for the fuel. And after reading in this book last night, they also took fuel, which I wasn't aware of. But we went over and we hauled fuel up to our forward area, which was Chengdu, China.
When you say you took fuel, did you actually go down onto the runway and unload the fuel? Is that how you did it?
All I remember is going there. My memory is not that good, but
okay.
they put us in a C-109, which is a converted B-24, and all it had was one big gas tank on the inside of it. And we hauled gasoline from Dhaka, India, to Chengdu, China. That was our forward base. And these flights over the Hump were over the Hump or the Himalayas, which is the highest point on the globe. I flew more than 10 of these missions over the, excuse me. I'm sure glad you can redo this.
You're doing great. You're doing great.
I think I was credited. Well, I flew that many over the Hump. I was credited with, I believe, 1 combat mission for every 2 missions hauling gas over the Hump.
Why was that?
I don't know. Well.
Was it because it was risky?
Well, yeah, but it was so. Well, for purposes of coming home, after you had, we had to have 35 missions to come home.
So they documented everything.
Oh yes. Okay. Now I put down here, life in India was very cheap. The average lifespan was 27 years of age when we were over there. A woman who had just given a birth tried to sell it to me for 10 rupees, which was equal to $3 American money.
Wow.
A lot of poverty in India.
Yeah. Well, then I went on to say I had an Indian bearer, and I paid him the exorbitant sum of $3 a month to work for me. He worked he was kind of like a butler. He took care of my laundry, cleaned my area in the basha. Now a basha is a thatched roof hut. And he got fresh water for me constantly. He would be there holding my sock for me when I got out of bed in the morning. He did anything for me that I didn't want to do. So, and he only charged me, like I said, the exorbitant sum of $3 a month for that service.
Remarkable.
Was there an experience with a rickshaw you and your buddies had?
Oh, that comes later, Mike.
Okay.
I'm going to say, we talk about my meals. My meals normally consisted, now this is all that I ate. I had bread, peanut butter, marmalade, bananas, and coffee. Now my subsistence consisted of just like that. Now they had Spam and K rations, and I liked the peanut butter and K rations. And there was good cheese in the K rations also. There were chocolate bars in the K rations. Now that was all the food I ate while I was overseas. No, that's not true. After 6 months, when we got to Tinian, we had better food.
Amazing.
So, I'm going to have to tell some stories along the way here.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
One time when we were returning from our forward base area in China, we realized we were out of oxygen. So instead of flying over the hump, we had to fly through them. We had to get down to 10,000 feet. You can't be at 29,000 feet without oxygen. So, well, 10,000 feet, it was very bumpy. And we had to work our way through the Himalayas instead of going over the top of them.
Were you afraid of being shot at?
It wouldn't have done any good. Well, I tell this later.
Okay.
All I had was, let's see. No, I don't have it here yet. But all I had a .45 caliber automatic pistol. That's all we had to protect any of us. It was one pistol. I don't know what the other fellows had. I guess they also had a .45 just in case we were shot down. We had nothing to protect ourselves with. If the enemy was out there, they could have shot at us, or they could have shot the plane down.
Were you more afraid of being shot at or running into the mountain when you're at 10,000 feet?
Probably. Well, we never thought about if you went down, it was just going to be tough. But let's see. Oh, yeah, I'm going to tell another story here. Once, while going to our forward area in Chengdu, China, we landed in Missional, Burma. We controlled one end of the runway, and the Japanese controlled the other. As we would take off, they would fire at us. And here's one night I slept in an ambulance in Kunming, China. This was the location of the famed Flying Tigers. You've heard of the Flying Tigers? Then okay, I guess that's the end of that. After we left India about April of 1944, we went to Tinian Island in the Marianas south of Japan. We could see Saipan in the Mariana Islands across the bay, and our headquarters were in Guam. Another duty we had was to load the 50 caliber machine guns on the planes. These shells consisted of one armor-piercing shell, one tracer, one regular shell, and two others which I can't recall the names of them. I don't really remember. But there was a series of 5 shells that we had to load everything in a series of 5. This was done prior to each mission. also should get on here. I never did say anything about airplane guard.
Tell us.
The enlisted men always had to. We had to do the airplane guard. I mean, the officers didn't have. There's six of us, 6 enlisted men. So every 6 nights you'd have guard duty. You'd have to go out and stay out there with the airplane.
Does that mean, Hal, you got to sleep during the day? I mean, if you stayed
You
up
know,
all night-
we could sleep on guard duty. We had to be out there with the airplane. Is the way it worked. Now there was one time that I had an India Gurkha guard out there with me. He stood duty, and I slept.
Okay.
You did fine while we were up on the cycle.
Okay, well, Mike, why don't you ask him that final question?
From what you've seen and done following the war and throughout your working life, what advice would you think that you want to pass on to this generation?
Well, I know I said something about these computers. Computers has to be a wonderful thing. I don't have one. I don't even know the first thing about it. I don't even know which end it's used for. That and I would if I had it to do over again, I would have gone into civil service. Was it civil service? And whatever you try to go into, give it your all. Do the best job you can. And that's
Good job, Bob.
that's about as far as I can.
Why don't you show the medals and talk about
Yes.
Show us your shadow box here for a minute. Just show us
Give me
what's
your
in it.
papers. Give me your papers.
I've got them all messed up now. I have to get Marina to put them all back
And he's busy with.
in shape for me.
I want you to open them up and just put them across your chest, the shadow box across your
Oh.
Just
chest,
hold it so we can see it.
so you can talk about them.
Let's see. That way?
Put it up this way.
Up like this.
That way?
Marina, can you enlarge that?
You got a
This
reflection
is
in
the
it.
button there.
Which one? That's touchy.
Very fast.
What's the Distinguished Flying Cross indicate?
That's a very good question. I really don't know. I know General Ramey presented it to me, and I laughed at him. Yeah, he got the line mixed up. He was talking to Jones. It was Jones, Brown, and Fleetwood, and he got off one, and he called me Brown or something or other. And when he did, I just busted out laughing right in his face. But at any rate, he presented us with the.
Victory Medal, what Distinguished
Not
Flying
the
Cross?
victory medal. This is a ladder thing. Of course, I had the
Good Conduct Medal.
good conduct medal for years, but he presented me with that, and
Why don't you name the medals? Go through them and name them for us.
these are air medals, and there's each one of these little deals up here. I can't even. What are they? Oak leaf clusters. Each one of those means another air medal.
Okay.
I mean, there's 2 of them here, but there's 3 more. I think there's 3 more on here. Isn't there 3 more?
There is. There is.
And then these are 2 Distinguished Flying Crosses. These campaign ribbons up here, they're for the, like this one is for the CBI, the China, Burma, India campaign. Well, then that's what is that? That's my DFC, isn't it?
Was the Victory Medal at the end of the war? Is that what was?
The Victory Medal was for at the end of the war, the end of the
World War II?
whatever. No, this one is a Distinguished Flying Cross. I mean, is a small token of the Distinguished Flying Cross and the Air Medal.
There's a good conduct there, right there.
Yeah. And these are my dog tags down here that I wore.
Do you believe you deserved your medals?
Boy, did I. I deserve them.
It sounds like you worked very hard for them. What about this book over here?
Okay. Let's go to it now. I don't. This is a copy of.
Wait a minute, you have to put it up
Put
by
it up where you
his
can
face.
This is the copy of the 444th Bomb Group, all our activities, all our combat missions, everything we did, places we were. And it
Put it up for us.
The names of the men.
shows you everybody's name and address is in here. That start out. Well,
Is there a picture of you there?
yes, ma'am. But I don't.
Okay. I want you to zoom into his picture. Picture.
Now here, well, of course this is a picture of our airplane.
Aircraft.
Picture of him in the book.
Is there
There's
a
your
picture of you in the book?
Yes, ma'am. Well, before that, here's a map, or a map showing. Of course, this is all one of my grandchildren did this outline here.
At about age 3.
But this tells about the route that we took going overseas and all the way back home to the United States. We made a complete trip around the world. So now I shall see if I can find my picture. Oh, Chrome Dome.
Okay, I want you to put it up against you like this. Marina's going to come in.
Which picture am I looking at down there?
That one down there. Okay, bring it over this way a little bit. Okay, Marina. How far can you get in?
The Chrome Dome, Provano. And
Proveno.
Proveno?
Yeah.
Okay, whoops, where's his picture at? Where's it?
Right here.
Right there.
Like,
Which is your photo? Which are you?
He's right here.
Oh, right.
that good-looking fellow right down there.
Not good looking. Handsome.
Guy's got all the hair.
Handsome.
Yeah, I had hair back in those days.
He didn't though when he came home.
I wanted.
He lost it all.
I was trying to tell Marina a little bit ago. This man right here was our bombardier,
Okay.
and he ended up he was in charge of the UFO, the whole UFO program for the United States.
United Services Organizations?
No.
UFO.
Oh, UFO.
UFO.
Unidentified.
Whoa.
He was over the
And-
Roswell project, wasn't
Yes.
No,
he?
no, he was killed. That's a long time. He was killed mysteriously. He died mysteriously. They don't. Everybody that had anything to do with that project died. And this general that pinned the ribbons on us, he was in charge. You know of the Roswell project?
Oh, yes. Very
He was in charge. He was in charge. He was the commanding officer that was in charge of the Roswell project, General Ramey.
You knew famous people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you.
We're done.
You did good, Bob.
Man, well, I didn't even find this other note.
Here you go, put this. Don't lose that.
Here, this has got all our missions and how we did on them. But
Who compiled the book for you?
it'll tell you in here somewhere. I really can't.
May I look at it?
Yes, I was just trying to find a particular page here.
Okay.
I think, oh, right here. I think that this tells about that.
Oh, the dry dock that was usually.
When we bombed that. I just located that last night.
I have
in
a
here.
question for you. Is it hard to bomb something with accuracy at 20,000 feet?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Now we had the northern bomb site. It was the best in the world.
Pretty accurate at 20,000 feet.
Okay, take one off.
Take one off. Why don't we have your mom for 5 minutes?
Okay.
We'll interview her.
Okay.
Let me just
Okay.
phone Marlon. We have a special